So I've been wanting to use only Apple apps in my productivity system for the longest time now, but there's always been some kind of key feature missing that has kept me using other third-party applications. But with the new iOS 18 and Mac OS Sequoia updates, I finally switched everything over to just Apple apps, and it's honestly been great. They're simple yet powerful. They sync easily across devices, work well offline, and have all the features you really need to organize your life and manage your time in a simple and sustainable way. So in this video, I'll be walking through my simple Apple productivity system that I honestly think can help pretty much anyone live a more organized and productive life. There's three main components to the system, just the calendar, reminders, and notes apps. So I'll kind of walk you through how I set up each of these to organize my life and also highlight some of the new updates and features that have made these classic apps even better. All right, before we get into it, make sure to hit subscribe right now to see more videos like this one. All right, so let's start with the calendar side of things. Here is Apple Calendar, looks nice and clean. And where I like to start is on the left-hand side here. And this is where we can have basically our different calendar accounts or individual kind of sub calendars, if you want to call them that. And so you can link any other third-party calendar that you might have already set up. So like Google Calendar, Outlook, anything like that. And it'll all show up right here in Apple Calendar. You can edit it as normal, and it's a very nice and clean integration. But you can also just use the built-in iCloud Apple Calendar. And if you're just starting with this, or you want to kind of start over fresh, that's probably what I would recommend. It works the best. And you don't have to deal with kind of tweaking things in Google to get them to sync over here. But the Google calendars and stuff will still work perfectly fine. But from here, what I'll do is I'll create different calendars for each kind of main area of my life. So if you have different kind of big picture goals that you're working on, I would make a completely separate calendar for each of them. So I'll show you what that kind of looks like. So if you go File, New Calendar, iCloud, let's say, okay, one main area of your life is just work, so your normal job. Then maybe you are also trying to get into better shape, take care of your health, nutrition, exercise. That's a big part of your life. So maybe you have a calendar for that. For me, and maybe you too, I would make a calendar just for like my YouTube channel. So this would be kind of work that I'm doing on that, since that's kind of a major area of my life. And then maybe relationships, and this can cover kind of friends, family, that type of stuff. And the reasoning for doing this is once we start to block out things, you'll see that it allows us to get a nice visual representation of where we're dedicating our time to in our life. So let's say you have a big goal related to your health. You want to get into great shape, lose fat, whatever. But when we block things out on our calendar, if we don't see a bunch of events that correspond with the color for health, we can just quickly see that, okay, we're not really putting the work in. We're not really allocating the time needed to progress towards that goal, and we might need to make some changes. So if we go back, for example, here's how I would kind of go about blocking things out on your calendar. And I think this is a great way to start managing your time. And really, this is kind of the core of productivity is your time management. And so I would start by blocking out sort of recurring events, things that don't really change. They're not one-off things, just this happens pretty much every day. So for example, your morning routine, you wake up and do various things, and you can select the calendar that you want that to be a part of. So let's say health. And then we can also make this a recurring event. And let's say we want it every day except for Sunday. Maybe Sunday we'll sleep in a little bit. And then can also go to our night routine. So let's say maybe starting around 9 p.m. we'll start winding down night routine. And obviously this is just an example, not necessarily my specific routine, but this is how I would go about setting things up. And let's say we'll do this every day except for Saturday, because maybe Saturday we'll stay up a little later and sleep in on Sunday. So we can do that. And now that's nice and repeating. And then let's say we've got our normal job. Maybe it goes from 9 to 5, but we got to commute a little bit or get ready or something like that. So we'll just make a big event here, and let's just say work. And we can put that on the work calendar and make it repeat Monday through Friday. You get the idea. And so obviously your routine in your day might look different from this, but you can kind of mess around with things and customize it to however your life actually is. The point is that anything that's consistent, I would just create a recurring event on your calendar so you know that that time's always taken up. You don't have to worry about it. And then you can really start to live by your calendar. I've talked to so many people who basically they have some things that they want to do with their life. Maybe it's start a YouTube channel, maybe it's take care of their health, maybe it's spend more time with family, pick up a hobby, whatever. But they kind of have this idea that they don't have enough time to do it. They're too busy, blah, blah, blah. And they have this feeling, but it's more of kind of like an abstract, vague feeling inside their head. Like they haven't actually gone through this exercise and gone to their calendar and mapped out exactly where their time is going and seeing exactly where their free time is. And they just kind of feel overwhelmed. So this is really the first step to organizing your time in your life, because once we block out those kind of mandatory recurring events, we can see, okay, how much time do we actually have? And, not accounting for all the time we probably waste maybe scrolling through social media or watching YouTube videos or something, but how much time could we actually, have in our control? And this is how I would go about doing that. So let's say these are kind of the mandatory things. Maybe we'll add a couple more in here. Just quickly say we want to go to the gym every day. We'll do that after work. Repeat that every day. Maybe we'll do it just 45 minutes. And then maybe we have a nice dinner or something here too. And we can repeat that every day. Extend that a little bit here. Okay. All right, so now you can see we have some empty space here before work. On the weekdays, maybe a little empty space after dinner. And then the weekends, maybe a bunch of empty space. Obviously, this could be different for your life. You'll probably see some empty space, hopefully. If you don't, you might need to rearrange your priorities. But at this point, let's say we want to start dedicating time to something else. In my case, it would be to my YouTube channel. I would go here and say, okay, well, I've got some time, maybe like an hour, maybe an hour and a half every morning to work on this if I wake up early enough. So maybe I'll put in a little block here and we just call this YouTube. And this is one way you can go about this. And you can repeat this every day if you want to, or just on the weekdays, whatever suits your fancy. I don't know if that's a real saying, but yeah, this is kind of the first step, basic time blocking. Like it sounds really simple, but I've talked to so many people, so many clients, people in my community and stuff who just, they say they have productivity and time management issues, and I ask them to show me their calendar, and it's like they got nothing on there, or it's not really organized, or it's like half empty because they haven't been scheduling the actual things they need to do. So this is like a basic step, but fundamentally, like I think it's really important for you to actually do. All right, and before we get into the reminders section of this, one thing I'll note is, in addition to these time blocks, what I will do, and I talk about this in my how to actually stick to a schedule video, is I'll set some alarms on my phone. So just like in the normal alarm app, and I'll use them to kind of supplement the calendar, because yes, the calendar, you can set it to send you notifications, alerts and stuff. But I found that those often don't really get me to get up and, actually do the thing. And I'll kind of either miss the alert or I'll kind of just ignore it because it's kind of so nice and quiet and passive. But if I set these loud, obnoxious alarms on my phone for different event times, then it's like it actually will usually make me get up and do the thing. I won't set them for every single block on my calendar. Usually it's just for kind of the main checkpoints. So obviously waking up, maybe starting my work, finishing my work, going to the gym, starting my night routine, these kind of key turning points in the day where it's like, okay, if I miss this, or if I don't really align with, this schedule, then the rest of the day will fall apart. So it's like, if I don't wake up on time, then okay, everything's going to get out of whack. If I don't start work on time or finish work on time, then, it's going to affect the next portion of my day. So I will use the alarms to supplement. And then now let's talk about the new feature, which is pretty awesome, is the reminders integration into Apple Calendar. So as you can see at the top here, these are a bunch of reminders that I have set in my reminders app, which we'll talk about in a minute, how I set up that actual app. But you can now create, in addition to a new event, you can create a new reminder here directly in the calendar. So let's say I want to remind myself to film Apple productivity system video. And you can select a list here, depending what list you have in your reminders app, and it'll show up right here. And this opens up a lot of different possibilities for how we can use this feature. You could just keep the reminders kind of up here at the top to see, okay, you have your time blocks here. This is kind of like your schedule, but then you have sort of your main master checklist at the top here. Or what you can also do is take a reminder and let's say, okay, I want to film this video at 6:30. You can drag it to a specific time. So that's really up to you how you want to set things up. Personally, what I've been doing, and maybe I'll experiment with other things, is just keeping the tasks up at the top here and then creating little blocks during the day for when I'm actually going to do them. It might seem a little redundant, but I think, when it comes to getting the important work done, it helps to have both sides of things. So picking the tasks first is like a big thing. You want to pick the effective tasks that actually contribute towards your goals, but then you also need to figure out the time. And another reason I like to keep the reminders here at the top is when I go to this monthly view, I can scroll back and see all the different actions and tasks that I've completed that have contributed to different areas of my life. You can see I have them color coded with the different lists in my reminders app. But this is just a really nice way to kind of look back and see what you've actually been doing, see if you've been putting the work in. Like you can see some days where I haven't really done much. I may have been traveling or spending time with family that day, or just didn't set any tasks to do. But yeah, this is a super cool feature. You can obviously check different reminders directly here on the calendar. So if we go to here, let's say once we film this video, we can just click check and it will check it off, and that'll sync to the reminders app as well. All right, now let's open up the reminders app and go through how I set this up here. And the first thing I use is just this inbox, and this is where I kind of quickly capture tasks, classic sort of getting things done type of system here. Just whenever I'm out and about, so I don't forget, I'll add a task here if it comes to mind. So you can see I just ordered this French press, and it has different plastic parts in it, which I was hoping to get one that was just stainless steel and glass because I don't want to digest plastic and I want to be able to make my yerba mate with it, but it had plastic, so got to return that and then order a new one. And I've also set up a nice little shortcut where on my computer, if I just press Command-Shift-R, it'll open up this little thing, and I can type a little reminder here, press done, and you'll see it just gets added to the inbox really quickly. So I'll try to clear out this inbox at the end of every day, just at the end of my workday when I do just a quick kind of 30-minute review and planning session. But if I don't get to it, at the very least, Sunday when I do my big weekly review, I will clear out this inbox and sort things into different lists. So now speaking of the lists, what I do here is generally I try to mirror them to my different calendars that I set up. So if you go back to the calendar, what I would do, let's say if you have these categories, work, health, YouTube, relationships, I would probably set up a corresponding list that is also work, health, YouTube, and relationships. And you can match the colors if you want to get all aesthetic and fancy here. But for me, I just kind of have this professional category, and this is related to my YouTube stuff because I want to kind of treat that super professionally, treat that as almost a second job because I hope to make it kind of my main thing at some point. And then I'll also have a list for personal disciplines, learning. Disciplines is just kind of like these recurring tasks that I want to do every now and then. So I want to send out my weekly newsletter or do my weekly planning session exercise. finance review. So I just kind of have these things pop up in this recurring list. And as for how I set up the actual list, I've been using what I learned from Cal Newport. He has this kind of pull system that he mentioned in his recent book, Slow Productivity. And basically, the idea is that you have kind of two categories. One is the active task that you're working on, and the rest is kind of the queue. And this makes it so that you really just focus on one or two major tasks at a time and aren't just kind of like juggling a bunch of things at once. And it forces you to really establish, okay, what's the real priority? What's the thing that I actually need to do right now? And that's kind of your active task, and everything else you can order in the queue. Now, another cool thing is you can change the view in reminders. So you can use like kind of a Kanban board if you prefer this, and then you can just kind of drag things over to the queue. You can also make different columns here if you want to add other columns. So another feature that I like to use is the groceries list in Apple Reminders. This is really great. You can create a specific smart list just for groceries, and what it'll do is basically categorize the different ingredients that you add automatically into different categories. So you can see I just added ribeye and put it in the meat category. Let's say I want to get, all I really eat is meat, but eggs, milk. Can move to different sections. Blueberries. You can see it automatically sorts it, so that way when you go to the grocery store, or if you order online groceries, you can just quickly go to each category and it'll make it a lot more efficient. All right, so now let's get into how I use the Notes app. So as for the structure, I like to do a similar thing where I'm sort of mirroring the calendar and reminders apps. So I like to organize my notes by kind of the main areas or aspects of my life. But there are a few additions that are unique just to the Notes app. So let's dive into it. The first folder I have here is just core documents. So these are kind of the big picture documents that I use to sort of organize my life. If you've seen the video on my channel about how I organize my life and the system I've been following, this is kind of where I've been putting those major documents. So here we've got my quarterly plan here and the different kind of aspects of it with my YouTube channel, personal life, that type of thing. I have this ideas note, and this is kind of like a quick capture inbox, but for notes and just random ideas. So what I'll do is throughout the day, if I have an idea, I'll go, usually this is when I'm out and about on my iPhone, I can click the action button here and it'll run this shortcut where basically it opens up that same ideas note. And here's where I'll just write down kind of any random thoughts I have. If it's a specific task, I'll usually try and add it to my reminders inbox. But so this is more for kind of just general thoughts, ideas that I have. You can see I've wrote some stuff about direction for my YouTube channel, wanting to make more videos about health stuff because I'm pretty passionate about that. Just this random kind of quote I wrote from, I think, either a podcast or a book. And so it's really just random things. And this is just for the purpose of kind of clearing out my mind. And as I'm working on other things, if I have a thought and I just don't want to forget it, but I don't really want to think about it right now because I'm focusing on something else, I'll just quickly add it to this ideas note. And then at the end of the week, during my weekly review, I will go back through here and kind of sort through things, read them, delete things, and move it to the relevant places in the rest of my system. I also have my quarterly plan in here. So I've got a bunch of things written down in these drop downs related to my YouTube channel, personal life, just everything I want to accomplish this quarter. Got my values, disciplines, things I want to learn, personal plan, productivity system, professional plan, all these big picture documents that I use to organize my life. Then I have these other folders for the different areas of my life. So I've got professional here, and this is related to all my YouTube stuff. So kind of content related things, personal folders, various personal things in there. I also have this knowledge folder, and this is kind of like my second brain system. So it's just a bunch of different notes related to specific podcasts, calls I've been on, book notes, course notes, YouTube video notes. I won't get too deep into that, how that system works, but I'll put all those notes in here as well. And then I also have just this archive folder, and this just has basically everything else that isn't really relevant anymore, but I don't necessarily want to delete, because I can always use the search feature here in Apple Notes if I want to search for a specific thing. And so I'll keep those notes archived here. Now, getting into some of the new features with Apple Notes, as you can see, one of the cool ones is you can now highlight text. So you can add different colors here. If I want to make this mint green, it'll do this nice highlight thing. You can do it on different words, just to emphasize different things, make it nice and pretty looking. Also added this feature, it's kind of similar to what Notion has, or other note-taking apps, where basically you can have these drop-down menus here. And so you can kind of organize your notes a lot better into different sections. And so that's definitely a game changer. That's the one thing, like before this, like my Apple Notes would be nice. It'd be nice and simple, but it would be kind of cluttered and kind of just this long, big page in here. When you add headings and stuff, it can make it a lot more organized, which I really like about Apple Notes. And that's about it for the new features in Apple Notes. There is one other feature related to math notes and calculations, which is super cool, but isn't really relevant for me anymore. I wish I had that back in school when I was taking math classes. But other things, you can change formatting of text, make checklists, add tables. You can record audio directly into Apple Notes. So if you had like some kind of, you wanted to make a journal with sort of voice entries, that'd be pretty awesome. You can add files, photos, you can lock notes behind a password if there's something private in there. You can share notes with other people and collaborate on the same note, which works really nicely. Lots of great features here in Apple Notes that really allow you to do so much stuff, but it still maintains this nice simplicity, and it's really nice and quick and super easy to use offline, and it syncs well between devices. So honestly, like I've tried a lot of different notes apps, and I keep coming back to Apple Notes because of all these reasons. And even more so now with these new features with the highlighting and the drop down, I think it's a great option to take notes on things and use it to organize your life. So I know in this video, I just showed you things in the context of my computer, but the same apps are obviously on my iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch and stuff. I'll just use them in maybe slightly different ways or different contexts. So for example, I'm probably not going to use my iPhone to plan out my entire week or write out all my goals or review my quarterly plan. I'm going to use it more for quick things on the go, like adding a task to my reminders inbox, jotting down some notes, quickly glancing at my calendar, adjusting some event times or things like that. Whereas with my iPad and my computer, that's when I'll do my proper weekly review. I'll look through documents, I'll write out ideas for YouTube videos, take notes on things. If you want to learn more about how I reset every Sunday and prepare for a productive week and my entire sort of weekly review process, click this video right now. Do something today that your future self would thank you for.